South Korea has a joke about retirement. You leave the office. You open a chicken shop. The image is so familiar that it can feel like a statistic. It is not. Official statistics do not show this to be a typical path, and no official dataset maps a straight pipeline from a severance check to a fryer. But the joke survives because it compresses a real fear into one bright storefront. A career can end years before the need to work does. The office door closes. A household clock keeps running. Income may still be needed. Purpose may still matter. And experience does not guarantee an equivalent job on Monday. So this is not really a story about fried chicken. It is a story about who pays for the years in between. In May 2026, South Korea surveyed people between 55 and 79 years old. Among those who had already left the job they had held the longest, the average age at departure was 53.0. Among older people who said they wanted future work, the average age they hoped to work until was 73.6. Those figures measure different groups. They do not track one person across 20 years, and subtracting them does not create an average 20-year unemployment gap. But they do reveal two clocks running at different speeds. One clock belongs to the institution, the main career, the title, the salary scale, the desk, and the access card. The other belongs to the person, income, purpose, identity, family obligations, and the simple wish to remain useful. The OECD measures something different, actual withdrawal from the labor market, not departure from a main job. Its latest estimate puts Korea's effective labor market exit age at 67.4 for men and 69.6 for women. This does not mean everyone works continuously, securely, or by choice until those ages. It means that leaving a main career and leaving work are not the same event. The career ends early. Work does not. The years between those moments are where the chicken shop myth begins. The obvious bridge is another salary job. In our illustrative reconstruction, a company lanyard goes into a drawer while the household bills remain on the table. The man is fictional, his path is not presented as typical. Many people do find another job, and their next steps are varied. But re-employment does not make the two clocks identical. A new job begins after the main career has already ended. The Bank of Korea argues that stable wage jobs for older workers remain scarce. It expects the number of self-employed people aged 60 or over to rise from 1.42 million in 2015 to 2.48 million in 2032. Self-employment is not the only path after a main career. It is not automatically a desperate path either. For some, however, it becomes a private bridge, one they must finance and operate while absorbing much of the risk themselves. And this is where fried chicken enters the story. In 2023, Korea counted 39,789 businesses classified as chicken specialty restaurants, roughly 40,000. The scale makes the image instantly recognizable. So does the format. A franchise can make an unfamiliar business look legible. There is a brand, a supplier, equipment, recipes, packaging, a delivery system, and a routine an office worker can imagine learning. The storefront gives the next chapter a shape. That does not make the choice foolish. It explains why the choice can feel rational. The famous image of a severance check turning into a chicken shop is cultural shorthand. It is one visible answer to an invisible question. What can a person build when the old workplace ends, but working life does not? The answer can create income, pride, and a second professional identity. It can also turn savings into the machinery of staying employed. Then the numbers complicate the tragedy we expect. In 2024, official franchise statistics counted 31,397 franchise chicken outlets, 5.3% more than the year before. Their total sales rose 7.3% to 8.779 trillion won. The sector was not collapsing. That matters, because the easy version of this story is wrong. You cannot explain the chicken shop myth by saying nobody buys chicken. A busy counter can be real. A growing market can be real. A line of delivery bags can be real. But sales are not income. Sales are the top line. Against them sit ingredients, rent, utilities, labor, delivery costs, franchise charges, interest, depreciation, tax, and the owner's own time. The same official data show something else. While franchise chicken outlets increased, the number of people working in them fell 2.4%. Average staffing dropped from 2.25 people per outlet to 2.08. The statistics do not tell us why. They do not reveal the owner's take-home income, debt, hours, or chance of survival. They do not tell us whether a family member covered the counter, whether technology replaced a task, or whether the owner simply worked longer. That silence is not permission to invent a tragedy. It is the question at the center of the film. What does growth tell us, and what does it still leave unknown about the owner? Across 11 major small business sectors, not chicken shops alone, the average startup cost in 2024 was $83 million. Owners supplied $59 million themselves. That survey does not tell us how much a retiree spent, where the money came from, or whether any particular shop used severance pay. It tells us something broader. Entering small business can require an owner to put serious private capital behind a new working life. In the same survey, 15.8% named difficulty finding wage employment as a reason for starting a business. That is a minority, not everyone. Choice, ambition, frustration, and necessity can coexist in the same decision. The Bank of Korea finds older owners concentrated in vulnerable sectors including lodging and food, transport, and retail. In its analysis, their businesses tend to show lower profitability and higher debt ratios than those of other age groups. Again, none of this proves that a particular retiree spent a severance payment on a fryer. It reveals the broader architecture. For some people, staying in working life can mean putting private capital at risk. The bridge is real. But the bridge may come with a lease, debt, and an owner carrying the downside when the numbers do not balance. Some owners build durable businesses that create income, jobs, community, and a second professional identity. Those successes do not erase individual risk. The obvious mistake is treating the chicken shop as every retiree's destiny. The deeper one is confusing the return of work with the return of security. A business may restore income, purpose, autonomy, and pride. But it can also move the cost of an unfinished working life onto one household's savings, one lease, and one person's stamina. The wrong question is, why did this owner choose badly? A better question is, what choices were realistically available and who carried the downside of each one? That question does not remove personal responsibility. It places personal choice inside the labor market, the jobs available, the capital a person can risk, and the years they still expect to work. Korea makes the tension unusually visible because the chicken shop became a national symbol. Elsewhere, the bridge takes other forms. But the test is the same. When the main career ends, how long does a person still want or need to work, and who carries the risk between those moments? At the beginning, the joke ended at a fryer. Look again. The chicken shop is not a punchline, and it is not a prophecy of failure. It is one room where ambition, necessity, and transferred risk can become visible at the same time. If a career can end before work does, should the years that follow become a private business bet? And if one household carries that risk, who catches the owner?